Paragon. A lot of people are probably wondering if it'll be worth getting. Does the market really have enough room for another MOBA? A lot of other MOBAs have failed at doing this, and I've played a lot of them, and some of them are really fun, but they didn't do enough differently, and didn't ever feel polished enough to last either. It's hard to shoulder into a market that's already got big names doing things right, and even though Paragon is a third-person MOBA, which is technically a less saturated market, Smite already has a good following here. Is this a risky move by Epic Games? Not in my opinion. If people are willing to try it, they won't regret it. Let's break down my opinion of Paragon. So when I first heard about Paragon, it was actually by accident. I stumbled across it when I was messing around with Unreal Engine. There wasn't a lot of information at the time, just the fact it was called Paragon, and a few obscure shots of a few of the characters. Not a lot more than that. No genre, no backstory, nada. It tweaked my interest though. There's nothing like finding out about new games. So week to week after that, I'd check back in, and when I found out it was going to be a third-person MOBA, I was left with a weird mix of feelings. I'm a fan of Dota 2, and there lied the issue. I like playing Dota 2, and for my MOBA fix that's where I go. I've put a lot of time into it as well, so I'm attached to it. So my interest wasn't piqued as much, and I monitored the progress a little less enthusiastically. However, bit by bit I then saw screenshots of how amazing it looked graphically, and the incredible characters. It was just so well designed and different that my interest was again piqued. So bit by bit I started looking more and more into it. I was falling helplessly in love with the universe that they were creating. It was a perfect harmony of top-of-the-line graphics, map design, character design. Visually it just was and is, in my opinion, unparalleled. Aside from this, they were building a game based on a tried and tested mechanic in regards to the fact it's a MOBA, which could be a double-edged sword really. I mean, people expect a lot from a MOBA, especially a larger IP, and aren't as easily impressed. So gamers are going to be choosy and picky because, let's face it, there's already a good amount of MOBAs to choose from. For example, Dota, League of Legends, Guardians of Middle-earth, Dota 2, Panzer, Prime World, Vainglory, etc., not to mention the list of MOBAs that aren't making it and have been discontinued that continues to grow. Let's look at Avalon Heroes, Realm of Titans, Rise of the Immortals, Battle for Graxia, Warhammer Online, Wrath of Heroes, Warhammer 40k, Dark Nexus Arena, Sins of Dark Age, Infinite Crisis, Fates Forever Dawngate, etc. You see what I'm trying to get at here. It's risky. So does Paragon have what it takes to edge in and become a staple for MOBA gamers? I guess that depends on what you're looking for and if the game is supported enough to make it. I have to compare Smite to Paragon. I've played both, and I have to say while Smite won a lot of people over and was one of the first to be doing what it does, and caps off to them for that, it's in a completely different league to Paragon. This is obviously due to the differences in the size of the studios and their heritage. The level of detail and polish that Paragon has leaves Smite in the dust. There's a large gap in the game's quality, and being that Paragon is an early beta, that's saying something about Smite that's been completely released and around for a while now. But that's enough about Smite for me though, as I've never been a really big fan of the game, and while I enjoyed the odd game, I only have 4 hours logged on Steam, and it wouldn't be fair to run it too far into the ground when comparing them. So you like MOBAs, but you already have your favourite. You've spent time and money on your preferred one, and all of a sudden there's another contender that looks like it could be really good, but you're just not sure. The reason I introed the video the way I did was to show that's exactly where I was, and I took the risk, and 110 logged hours later I feel like I could give feedback for others that might be interested also. So do the basic game mechanics work well? Yes, the game feels and plays really well. The movement system is fluid, the skills are fun to use, the combat feels like a MOBA, you've got stuns, dots, spike damage, disables, etc. Last hitting for increased currency is a thing, and managing your lanes well makes a big difference in battles, and so does having your ulti and skills ready for the right moment. Hiding wards to show incoming ganks, and having an exit strategy, all of the things that make a MOBA fun are found within Paragon. They also have planned to release 39 characters, that's one every 3 weeks, and every time this happens, it's adding more and more depth to the battles taking place, and for me I really enjoy it. I see myself playing this game for a long time, and it's good to be on the ground floor experiencing everything as it's being added. It's a good feeling and something I like about the experience overall. It also allows for Epic to get in and balance things as they get added. So we know it looks amazing. The footage you're seeing for this video is actually in-game. It's using the rewatch feature, so this is how the game looks all the time while you're playing it. This is of course set on max. Now let's move on from the graphics and talk about the map situation. It's so far just one single map, and I think that really works well with MOBAs. I think there's so many variables in a match that knowing the map inside and out is a big thing. Players will enjoy getting to know their space they occupy and learning things inside and out. That's my opinion anyway. I think MOBAs like this chess on crack. It all comes down to knowing where you can move, what moves you have available, but it's just as important to know what moves the opponent can perform and where you'll be able to move to next, making one map a good choice to provide a reliable constant in a sea of variables and choices. It's worth mentioning that Paragon does not use a store system, at least not in the conventional way that other MOBAs do. There are items and upgrades to those items, and you do buy them with currency won for killing minions, towers and characters, but they're in the form of cards. Each character comes with a few pre-made decks that have been set up as a basic loadout for the characters, and are good to use if you're newer. You can unlock other cards by playing the game. Outside of that, however, you have a deck builder in the main menu, and upon starting a match you choose a pre-built deck and you can only draw cards from this deck. This is one thing I don't like very much about Paragon. I understand they're trying to do things differently, however I think it's pretty strong enough without having to add something that just doesn't feel right and maybe a bit gimmicky. Now, not only a few sentences ago I noted that MOBAs are a sea of variables, choices made and decisions on how to counter your enemy. Now a lot of this has to do with items. You notice the enemy team is doing one thing, so you do another, which is why stores work so well, because there's no limit on the choices you make aside from inventory space, and if you don't have a card unlocked there's also an issue with newer people joining in and being less effective because they haven't unlocked the best cards. So if we enter into a game where there's a lot of different options, but we have had to pre-choose our inventory, then it becomes luck, and in some ways out of your control. If your deck doesn't sit well with what the enemy has decided to choose, we're at a disadvantage. While it hasn't proven to be a big issue thus far, I can't help but thinking the game would make more competitive sense with just a standard store. But what I've found happens due to this though is if you get on a good team, it's more about the player's actions that decide the turn of battle. So playing well and using your skills to complement other players' skills becomes more important, and in some ways makes the game a little bit more dynamic. So maybe the card system is good to shake up the genre. For all intents and purposes it works fine within the game. I guess it's just weird coming from so many other MOBAs that use your standard stores. They have 3 supported regions so far. They're North America, Europe and Australia. Australia only recently being added, and while I found the game to be enjoyable playing with a higher ping, I'd say playing in your own region is a big advantage. So if you don't hail from the said regions, I'd say that it's still going to be enjoyable if you buy it. Overall, Paragon is an immersive and beautiful game. With a lot of really talented people who know how to make a fantastic game behind it, I think it offers enough for die-hard MOBA fans to get on board, and has enough new aspects to keep people interested as well. With an easy to play, hard to master setup, it's perfect for people who love the challenge of mastering a game. It's an easy choice to give it a try because it's going to be free to play upon release. If you want to sign up, you can get invited to beta and just wait it out. Or for those who are keen to get in now, as I was, you can purchase a Founders Pack and get instant access to the game, along with a few extra goodies, entry-level packs starting at $20. I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable. I 100% recommend this game to people who like MOBAs, and even because it's got shooter aspects in it, FPS fans may like this one as well. Just remember, it's a MOBA first and the shooter second. If you have any questions I haven't answered, please leave a comment. I'd be happy to respond. Thanks very much for watching, and happy fragging.